Hey everybody, welcome back to Don't Like It.
Change it.
I'm Ninja Monkey, this is,
Coach Ray.
and we just want to jump straight into this podcast.
Here we go.
Last week, we were talking about the big three.
Yep.
Nutrition, sleep, and exercise. We didn't go super in depth into any of it, but today we're going to jump into the nutrition part of it. But I thought that it would actually be funner if we could just back up a little bit, because one of the things that we don't want this podcast to be is us trying to be somebody that we're not, and like trying to pretend like we know everything about everything.
Right. We're still learning.
Yeah. And we don't want to be like the place where you come to learn all the high-tech nutrition tips. Like, you can nerd out on that if you want to, but what the people that we're aiming for are not in that industry or that field at all. They're not already watching tons of these videos. So I'd like to try to keep the information at a place where they can get benefit from it quickly.
Right. We're focused on the beginner, someone who's just starting in their health journey and they need some basics to get them started. Because for me, if I take myself back to whenever I first started, if someone was getting into the science of everything, it would have definitely overwhelmed me, and it did.
Mhm.
It
It
overwhelmed
still
me like
does
crazy.
overwhelm me.
Yeah, like there's so many do's and don'ts when it comes to nutrition that we want to basically simplify it, give you somewhere to start, and then as we grow together and as we do more and more shows, maybe we can get deeper into the processed foods and uh, should you do the carnivore diet or the key, like all the nitty gritty stuff, elimination diets, that kind of stuff. But we want to keep it simple because you start somewhere, right?
Yeah. So let's go ahead, and the thing that I actually wanted to talk about the most on this podcast before we give them like the tips that they can use is, how did we get here? Like, take us all the way back to the beginning. Like, what what did it look like, you know, like right after Christopher was born? We're going back 8 9 years, when everything was the worst it could possibly be. We were still eating the DiGiorno's, drinking the pops, smoking cigarettes. Um, Take me back to when we had the miscarriage. And like, so at the time I was rock climbing and working at the moving company.
Right. You were
And
way ahead of me when it come to like fitness level. I was tired of not being able to keep up with you, to be honest.
yeah, I was taking her rock climbing when she's like 170 pounds.
I didn't want to be left out. I didn't really have any friends or a life of my own or goals at that point. So I just did everything Chris did. And I was
Yeah.
not, I think that's what stressed me out a lot. Like
Yeah.
you were just living life and I had to either do it with you or sit back and not because of my health.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when, so rock climbing is when I found out about the keto diet, because the rock climbers were using it. Well, at least there was a few of them who were like using it to like shred off fat
Mm-hmm.
and like not lose their strength. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah, I remember you coming
I
home
knew
and telling
nothing
me
about
about it.
dieting back then, but I was like, this is it.
This is the answer. Like
Yeah.
you were starting to explain the science and it made sense to me and we just jumped on that
To clarify,
bandwagon.
I didn't know the science. I
Well,
was just repeating what I heard.
well, you sounded smart as heck. It made sense.
So what was that? What was that like back then? Because I know that was a point where we were trying to quit smoking. There's a lot going on, a lot of stressors. Um, what made that one like take off for you?
I would have to say two things since you're making me revisit this. It's hard to go back, but after having a miscarriage, and going downhill with my mental health, like staying above the water and instead of sinking in depression. Um, like I wanted to take control. And so you showed me a way to take back control. So I couldn't control, what happened with the miscarriage, but I can control my diet. And that was the first taste of that I got. And then the second thing I think that excited me about it was the quick win.
Yeah.
So, and this happens for a lot of people when they do the keto diet, and a lot of them don't understand the mechanisms of, why this happens. But I mean, I didn't at the time. I just thought, oh my God, this is like magic. I
Yeah.
got an instant win my first week of doing keto.
This is the easy button.
Oh, I lost 20 pounds. I'm not even kidding. The scale was down 20 pounds.
Yeah.
And me, back then, I thought, wow, I lost 20 pounds of fat.
Yeah.
And it, when you get a win like that, you're like, you get excited and you want to keep going. So it did. It gave me that motivation, that quick dopamine hit that I needed to like keep going at something.
Yeah.
But really, why?
It's actually better to be ignorant, because when you see that scale drop so much, you think it's working, and then you just keep going at it, and then it ends up working out well for you. Whereas like other diets, you don't get that quick
instant gratification.
win.
Yeah. And that's why I think the keto diet does have a place, because it's helping people control the carbs, which is usually what
all
the
processed
carbs. Yeah. Because that's basically what it is. I mean, we did dirty keto because we didn't know what we were doing.
It's the first time in our lives that we weren't drinking pop and then eating like pizza
and crackers and cookies and just all these processed
carbs.
Little Debbie's was huge.
My nutty butter. What are Nutter Butters?
Star Crunch.
Dude. My mouth's gonna start watering.
Yeah. So basically, that's why it worked, because it kept us, we're like, okay, we got to stay 50 grams. And so what doesn't have a lot of carbs? Protein. So we didn't even know anything about macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fats. We just knew that we had to limit our carbs for the day. Easy. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to track food. That's why I said there is a time and there is a place. Is it sustainable? No, but it is like that quick win that some people need. And to start feeling good, because you're getting your protein and you're really eliminating a lot of junk out of your diet. And for, every gram of carbohydrate you have, that holds on to water. So no, I did not lose 20 pounds of fat. I lost a lot of water. Yeah. Like I depleted my muscles and my everything in my body of water. That's why you have to drink a lot of water when you're on the keto diet. But that's where we started. That was like our first taste of a diet and some wins. And then I think we tried intermittent fasting a little bit. Yeah,
so that went along with the keto diet was, I found out that like I wasn't hungry throughout the day because I wasn't having like that spike from my blood sugar. Mm-hmm. And then like that hunger that comes back like 2 hours later.
Right.
So
that is a benefit.
That's like whenever I realized I don't actually have to eat breakfast or lunch. I can just eat one meal a day and I'm totally fine. Everybody else is like, man, I'm so tired. I need lunch. I need a snack. I'm like, What are you talking about? Let's keep working. Let's not have lunch.
And it worked for me too, because I was like insulin resistant. So I needed to give my body, I think, a break from carb overload for sure. So, and I think people who are, fighting pre-diabetes, insulin resistance, like I think that it's a great way to jump in, talk to your doctors, but I think it does have benefits. But after nutrition school and learning what I've learned, like, man, I found that perfect, that's why I'm a coach now, because I found a way to where you don't have to eliminate anything really. I mean, you can keep it in as long as you know what. Yeah. Because that's what changed with us. Why did we get off the keto diet? Well, we changed. We became more active. Mm-hmm. We started doing jujitsu and being a competitor.
Yeah, and like being in people's faces all the time. I don't want that keto breath.
Right. And so we needed, so it worked for what we were doing then. But, now we are completely different people. We're active and we actually utilize our carbs right because we're healthy
Mm-hmm.
and we hit our other targets.
Yeah.
We make sure we get enough fat for our hormones, we get enough protein to build and maintain muscle. And so I eat more carbs now, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't overeat the carb. Like, I found a way to fuel myself. And that's what I love to teach is helping people fuel themselves, especially for what they're doing. And every single person's different.
Yeah. So let's go back to when we first started doing the keto diet, because you have way more self control than me. So I'd say that I bounce in and out of the keto diet way more often than you. So the thing that I ran into early on was like, like you have a craving, you have a bad night's sleep. Next thing you know, there's like a little Debbie on the counter, and you're like, okay,
Right. We didn't know the big three back then. We didn't know about the sleep and
yeah,
any of that. So it was harder for us. That's why it's like we have the opportunity to help people learn this now so that they're not wasting a bunch of time like we did or
yeah,
feeling like crap and going in the
yeah,
binge and purge and all those different cycles that are unhealthy.
yeah, yeah. So that's where I would definitely binge out. Like as soon as I break it, like if I'm eating one Nutter Butter or whatever it was, Nutty, but I don't remember. If
I
I'm
think that's
eating
off
one,
brand.
no man, I will eat like 4 packs of them, like almost the entire box.
Right. I did the same
Like
thing.
I would secretly, I would do that when you weren't looking. I'm just like, nom 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 nom.
Right.
Like,
And did you ever I know you did.
what?
You take a bite of something and you chew it just to get
Oh
the
yeah,
flavor and
yeah.
then you spit it
Usually,
out. Oh my
right,
gosh.
right before I'd fail my diet, I would find myself like people would be cooking things, and I'd be like, oh, give me that, that like a biscuits and gravy, let's say, or like dinner rolls with tons of butter on it. Like
Yeah.
I find myself like eating or like a piece of apple pie.
Right. It's that
Put that in
mind.
my mouth and I chew it up and then I'd spit it in the trash can.
It's that mind, and that was so like not a good
I even
mindset for us.
thought about like just fully eating a bunch of it and then puking it all up,
Uh,
just so that my carbs would stay low. Like I had those kinds of thoughts. I never did it, but for me to have those thoughts, like
yeah, I didn't even know you had those thoughts.
yeah, anybody.
Right. So
Did you?
I definitely did, and that's why I feel so.
Did you do it?
Yeah, I did, and it's not something I would planned on sharing, but
I mean, we can't gloss over it.
yeah,
You-
I struggled with that definitely. Like it was all or nothing.
Yeah,
So I finally found
that's the problem with the keto like thing. Like,
and no one
once you break your keto, you're like, I might as well just enjoy this day because I got to start over.
right, and then I'd feel so guilty. Like, oh, one slip up,
Mhm.
one cookie turns into all of the cookies,
Man.
or that bag of
The whole box of Oreos.
I had a whole bag of the peanut. Our son has a peanut allergy. So I had all the Halloween candy that may contain peanuts, which is all the good stuff. The Reese, all the candy bars, the mini ones.
Yeah.
I had that down here hidden because I'm like, I'll put it in something and like maybe give it to someone else. And anyway, I ended up eating almost the whole bag one night. And I felt so guilty. I started crying.
I bet you felt like crap, too.
I looked in the mirror right over there and I was just downing myself like, you failed. Like, oh, you're going to feel like crap. I felt like my skin and everything just, I don't know if it was in my head, but I felt instantly inflamed. I went and threw up. And I knew, this isn't good. So I remember telling you what I did, because I had actually done it a few times and I don't want this to be a problem. So I told Chris, and you made me promise to never do it again. And this was before nutrition, schooling, and learning everything I did. So it goes to show you, and I know many of you listening, you've probably been through it, or I think that's why it is important for us to be honest with the struggles. I didn't just get this way overnight. It's been a journey. And that's why we are so passionate to help, because that's no way for anyone to live. It's no way. It's not an all or nothing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get control over that. And once you start loving yourself, and, we're going to give you some tips today in this video to help with cravings and to help, give yourself grace. We're going to talk about the 80-20 rule and that.
Well, let's jump into that. So would you say like that's the starting point for everyone? Like if you can get,
I think that's a good mindset.
What is the 80-20 rule?
Well, there's different levels of it. I know that you have your own.
Yeah, in mindset, I know it's like the Pareto principle that like 80% of your results comes from 20% of your actions. But in your case, I feel like you're talking about something different.
Yeah, so
similar.
So basically, I tell my clients, aim for 80% of your meal to be whole foods, non-processed, something rich in nutrients, vitamins and fiber, protein.
Vegetables, people. Vegetables. She's talking about vegetables right now and protein.
Yeah, vegetables and protein. So try to make 80% of your day good choices. And then leave yourself room for the processed stuff. Like a lot of people say, don't eat any processed foods. But let's get real here.
I mean, ultimately, they'd be right. That would be the ideal.
Yes, that would be ideal. And
but people are not ideal.
Right. We live in a world, it's really hard. I'm a nutrition coach. I love my body. I try to put in as much good as I can. Like that's my mindset. What can I put in my body that's good? That's going to, make my skin glow and, make me just feel my best today. But I also like my processed protein bars or my cereal, my protein cereal or a shake. I like oatmeal cookies, and you got to leave room for some good stuff. Because I believe you can't go through life with the mindset of that all or nothing.
Right.
Like
the kids are still going to have a birthday party eventually.
What do I do?
Christmas is coming. Thanksgiving's going to be here. Speaking of, actually, we're coming up on Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. The holidays are freaking here. So we will do that, but let's just give them a quick, so you kind of talked about the 80-20, but what does that look like whenever they're like at their relative's house and they're making plates from whatever random thing is there?
So definitely, I like to give my clients some they're kind of like rules. I don't really like that word. I need to come up with a better one. But some rules to always keep in the back of your mind that kind of helps you while you're training yourself how to fuel yourself, how to feed yourself, right? So I always say, okay, set your protein target. Okay. So that's number one.
Yeah.
So if you hit your protein, allow yourself whatever you want after that. Trust me, protein is going to make you feel full.
Stuffed. And you will be stuffed.
Yeah, try. Okay. If you're new to the protein, it is really hard to hit 100, 150,
it feels hard at first.
It does. And then you're like, and you're not used to eating that way. So you're like, well, what foods do I eat? So you're learning that. That's all part of the journey. But you feel satisfied. And then if you have some, so, okay, I'm going to eat a protein at every meal before I eat, the pie. So Thanksgiving's coming up.
She jumped straight to the pie. I thought you were going to say like mashed potatoes and the biscuits or the rolls.
No, I'm going right to the pie. That's what I look forward to, my sweets. So, and I feel okay, because if I went for the sweets first or the mashed potatoes or, the comfort foods, if I ate those first, I'm going to fill up on them before I even think about the protein part. And that's what a lot of us do. We overeat on the carbs. See, carbs are not bad. But if that's all we're eating and we're not getting the protein and the fats that our body needs, then, we're storing more fat and we're losing muscle, especially if you don't work out. So rule 1, hit your protein target. Every time you eat, I want protein first.
You heard it here first from Coach Ray. Get your protein.
Get your protein first. And
You're gonna hear this.
you're gonna hear this
bunch
a
more
lot
times.
because this is one of the biggest things you can do when it comes to your nutrition that like makes the biggest difference, especially if you have body composition goals. If you're like trying to get that tone look everybody's after, you have to have the protein. And I'll even make you guys a list of different protein sources. One of the best ones, my favorite, I eat every single day, is going to be eggs. That it has the complete
I've been eating
protein.
more of those lately.
Man,
You got me started on them.
I got so many people who cannot stand eggs, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, they're so good. I make a big pot of hard-boiled eggs, and I keep them. I don't crack them and peel them, but I just keep them in the fridge. Every single day, I'm adding them to my salads. I'm adding them with my breakfast. Like they're a
I
good
just like it
snack.
when you make the deviled eggs.
And deviled eggs, yeah. So
That's my thing.
I
We should
love
have
it.
some more of those soon.
Yeah, we definitely should. So eggs, meat, dairy, seafood, nuts, seeds. We'll get into it more, but rule one, get your protein first.
Yeah.
Okay? And don't like start labeling foods good and bad and saying, "Oh, I can't have that," because I find that makes you want it more.
Yeah. So that's what I was gonna ask you is like, how do you stop from being so hard on yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm always preaching about logging your food, and I have all my coaching clients use the app Chronometer. If you'd like to use this service, there's an affiliate link below in the description. And also, out of all the protein companies out there, my favorite by far is the First Form Natural line. Use my link below and check out their supplement lines. Thanks for all your support. And lastly, we talk about these subjects routinely on this podcast. So if you are struggling with depression, substance abuse, mental health, or poverty issues, there's links below for free resources to get you help. And don't forget to join our free Facebook group, Don't Like It, Change It. All right, back to the show.
Like whenever so I mean, you're kind of going into it of like not making it a rule not to eat the stuff.
Yeah.
Because then that kind of sets you up to feel hard on yourself and then maybe tilt you towards a binge. So is there anything else that you can tell us about, like tips on not being hard on yourself?
That's just something that it's going to take work. Like the mindset. That's why me and Chris are doing this podcast. It should be called a pod set. We're doing this podcast because Chris loves mindset. I love nutrition, and we just like helping people. And the mindset is one of the biggest things, like besides protein, that's going to help.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to, you're constantly fighting your own mind, and looking at yourself. And so many times I have clients that are just so hard on themselves. They call themselves names they don't even realize. So I have to assign them homework for the week, that you will look in the mirror and tell yourself something kind out loud every single day until we talk again. Like practicing those little things and saying, no, it's not all or nothing. So if I do have a day where I felt like I made poor choices, like we just went on a road trip to Las Vegas, and I think I ate half a bag of black licorice, and like we had no sleep. We were fighting the cravings. They were intense. Okay, I didn't do perfect, but I made sure I ate protein every time I ate too. Like
we drove like straight
21 hours, yeah. So I made sure I had protein, and then every time we stopped at a gas station every 2 hours.
Yeah, it'd be like an hour and a half of sleep.
How many times did I get out and I do lunges around the car, or I just move my body? So I might not be perfect in one area, but I'm also, old me was, okay, I messed up. I'll just start again tomorrow, and I would make the rest of the day and the rest of my choices just as crappy.
Hey, that's exactly what I did, because my competition was the day before. And I'm like, oh, freedom. And I remember after being up all night long, because I had to cut a little bit of weight for that. I had to get up and run in the desert to like cut some water weight, because I was a little over.
I knew you were gonna. I could. There was something going on with your mindset before that competition, because usually like you're on point with everything, like you take everything really seriously, but you went complete opposite and ate like Chinese the night before. And not just a little bit, a lot of it, and that holds a lot of water.
Yeah.
But it was good.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, so the point was that, okay, I ate a bunch of candy that I typically don't eat because I don't crave it. But I did from lack of sleep. But I tried to get other areas of my life right. So, and that's been the big shift for me. I'm like, that's what I tell my group a lot, if you could do one thing for yourself good today, who cares if you felt like you 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 binged and maybe even purged, like threw it up.
I absorbed all of that stuff.
Go take a walk. You don't have to wait till tomorrow to start making
Yeah.
good choices.
Mhm.
Every good choice that you make compounds. Say that weird? Compounds?
It only got weird after you asked if you said it weird.
Okay. But so that's one way, is looking at what can I get right today for myself. And then also setting yourself up to where you're not constantly fighting temptation.
Mhm.
So that's
Oh,
one
how?
thing that we've changed, since from our life is
Through our journey, yeah.
we used to keep Little Debbie's and
Everywhere.
muffins, all sorts of crap.
A lot of that was a side effect of my mom.
Yeah.
She
Always
was
be
a
buying stuff.
junkie. I think she survived fully on nothing but Little Debbie's and cottage cheese and peaches.
Yeah, when she dieted, she did just like, you could tell when his mom was on a diet, she would just eat cottage cheese and peaches, and she'd lose a lot of weight. So yeah,
That's
we both grew up in
weird.
homes where it was kind of disordered eating all the
Mhm.
time in front of us, and I know a lot of you deal with that too, because I feel like I don't think I know one person with healthy eating habits.
Yeah. Yeah, so for instance, at that time, let's say that they're in that place where we were, where the Little Debbies are around, and there's nothing you can do about it because the people that you're living with have them.
Mhm.
What are some things you can do to help control yourself? Or
Besides eating your protein and getting your sleep, so you're not having those intense cravings hormonally.
what do you mean by getting your why are you saying hormonally you got to get
Because
your sleep?
whenever you're not getting good quality sleep or enough sleep, your hormones, like your ghrelin and your leptin and your cortisol, your hunger hormones go up, your satiety, like you don't feel satisfied, and it's just like your body's reaching for anything sugar to keep it awake. Whether, I mean, a lot of people don't even know that they're getting poor sleep. Why do I have such intense cravings?
Mhm.
They don't even think
Yeah.
about their sleep. Well, it's your body trying to stay awake, trying to get energy.
Yeah.
So
When's the last time you got 8 hours?
what do you crave when you're low energy? It's usually energy drinks full of sugar
Mhm.
and
Those
candy,
coffees,
because
man.
it's quick energy. And then you have your ups and downs,
You got a Starbucks.
Oh, yeah. I remember I used to be addicted to those sweet, delicious coffees too.
Mhm.
But, keeping it out of sight the best you can. And this goes for my moms too, because we know our kids still like the Scooby snacks and the Rice Krispie treats, the little school snacks that I know most of you keep around. And if you're a stay-at-home mom, that's a battle. So get your 8 hours of sleep, eat your protein first, and create a barrier. So I still have treats here for Christopher, but we put them up out of sight.
Mhm. Actually, that's even worked on me.
It's even
Now that you're bringing that up, I didn't think about it so much before, but when they're on the island, each time I walk by, I see them, and I'm like, all right, I'll have one of those.
Yeah, they used to sit on our island, like the little backpack.
They're like being
goodies.
advertised while they're there.
Right. That's like, even me. I'm like, oh, man, I love me some Scooby snacks.
Yeah,
Just
this
one.
is a healthier snack. I feel good about this.
Yeah, you try to buy healthier ones, but they're still processed snacks that, we can't just have one. It's really hard just to have one because they're so delicious, and most processed foods are created to make you want more and more. That's why we don't keep chips here. Like, I have snacks, but I don't keep chips because those are
The devil.
Yeah, see, know your triggers. And if you can, try not to buy the things that you specifically love, that maybe just your kid likes.
Yeah.
That you don't like.
Yeah.
Get those.
Mhm.
And then keep them off eye level. Put them up high on a shelf in the back They're there for whenever you're packing your kids' snacks for school. And that's it. They're not being displayed for everyone to look at, and you'll save a lot of money too. Because we were going through those little snacks, like those little Fig Newtons,
Belvitas.
the Belvitas, like we were going through those like crazy. And I'm like, okay, something's got to change. So just get them out of your sight. You can still have them, get them out of your sight.
Get that barrier.
I had one of my clients lock her gummy worms in her locker at the gym. So if she wanted one instead of in her desk at work, she was walking distance to the gym. She would have to walk down the road to the gym, unlock her locker, and get a gummy. Like, is it worth all that to you? If so, great, eat it. You walked there, you got some steps in. And we switched to having nuts and seeds and healthier options to keep in her desk at work that had protein in it, beef jerky, like finding little snacks that have protein in it is golden.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that rule after my mom passed. Like, what helped me was knowing I'm allowed to have a Little Debbie.
Yeah.
But that requires me to get up, get in my car, drive all the way to the store, buy it, and then eat it.
Yeah. And if you want it that dang bad, go get it.
And I'm pretty sure I've went and got, usually like by the time I'm to that point where I'm like, I'm about to go get something, then I'll just get something that's not Little Debbie's.
Right. And you're satisfied. You
got through that. Give me that Chinese food.
You got through that.
That's also not as good,
craving. But. So definitely. Okay. So
at least it's got protein in it.
So that's just setting up little rules for you. A, eat your protein first at every meal because you're going to fill up on that. Okay. B, create barriers to your foods that are very easy to overeat. Put fresh fruit on the counter. I actually buy frozen fruit, and that's a huge, like, we go through a lot of frozen fruit because we will top it on our Greek yogurts. We'll eat just little bowls of fruit for dessert. Yeah. And it just, for one, frozen's a lot cheaper. And it stays. So we love raspberries, but how many times do you buy a little thing of raspberries and they're complete mush the next day? So we buy everything frozen and we'll enjoy a little bowl of it. And that usually takes care of our sweet tooth.
Yeah, that actually was like paramount for me because I had a popsicle addiction basically left over from when my mom was alive. Like there's always popsicles, and I felt like it helped me calm down and go to sleep. And
it's going to be a lot better than eating those the red, white, and blue popsicles.
Bomb pops, baby. Let's go.
Full of the red dye number 40. And like, are you really getting good sleep eating that?
That stuff gave me like IBS. Like,
yeah, I remember like you started really learning about your body after you.
Hold on, I think our podcast just broke.
Are we back on?
Where were we? We were at. I just got done. I had popsicles, IBS.
Oh yeah, I was saying you learned so much about your body after you started getting off of the SAD diet, the standard American diet.
What the heck?
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Like, if you have you guys heard that? It's called the SAD diet, standard American diet, and it makes you sad. Don't believe me?
I'm with you.
Get off of it for a little bit.
Yeah, you don't know how good you can feel until.
Right. So that's something like we can stop and just say that one more time because, like I said, we're trying to grab the new people who are just starting their journeys.
I thought that back then, I thought I felt good. I thought I felt fine.
You don't know until you know.
You don't feel fine.
That's why you get people like us that are talking about it and can get excited about talking about this stuff because we've never felt better.
It's so important that we're going to take all this time out of our busy schedules to sit here and talk about this dang thing.
It's worth it. You put in the work just a little bit. I'm always talking about these baby steps because you should be doing it baby steps. It's whenever you dive all in and try to understand every little thing and get overwhelmed with all of the information out there. So I was like, okay, let's make a podcast that, okay, I'm not going to preach about, not yet anyway, like red dye and go heavy into staying away from processed foods. Like that is ultimate, like you said, but we all don't start there. And I would be lying if I said that I did. And that's something that's very important to us, that we keep it real with you.
Hmm.
Because this is about our journey.
Yeah.
And you know, connecting with people who are on that journey that might feel the same way.
We're going to give you easy steps, like the best places to start.
I'm saying, what good is it to lie, or what good is it to tell them everything I'm doing now 8 years in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've
like they're going to be able to jump into the journey 8 years deep.
No, like start start where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
You take those baby steps. Take these rules that we're giving you. What is something else I can call it beside rules? Because I don't like rules. What's that noise? Did you hear that? Go check your phone.
Since we just lost the podcast for a second, I got an idea. Let's do something fun. Okay. Wait. Hear me out. So let's make it short right now. We were just talking about the 80-20 rule and how you should aim to eat 80% of everything that you eat is whole foods. Get your protein. Mm-hmm. That's where we were. So real quick, let's make it short. 5 tips. That's going to use the reverse of that, the Pareto principle. What are the 5 things? What's the 20% of the actions that we can take to get us 80% of the results in our health journey?
So number 1, eat your protein first. That way you're not, eating carbs first and filling up on that. So eat your protein first at every meal.
2,
add in some vegetables, because that's going to help you keep full and get those micronutrients, make you feel good inside.
3, sleep. I'm going to say this one because I value it so much.
Yeah.
Get your sleep. If you don't sleep, you're going to have terrible self-control the next day and you're going to make bad choices. Number 4, don't drink your
calories. That's a huge one. I have some clients who drink upwards of 800 calories a day. And when I put them in a diet phase, I'm taking away 500 calories. Like, let that sink in. If you just cut out the sugary drink, you're going to drop weight pretty quick.
Take away that Starbucks. And you'd be taking away them love handles. Hey. All right. And tip number 5, remove.
Create.
I like that.
Create barriers to your trigger foods. Foods that you have an issue with. Mm-hmm. Me, that would be Twizzlers. I don't buy them. Mm-hmm. I will eat the whole package.
Yeah.
I don't care what I know.
Yeah. Leave them at the store or leave them far in the back of the cupboard.
Out of sight, out of mind.
What would you replace those with? Because everybody needs to eat snacks.
Try to make better options. So if you're currently eating the popsicles, get yourself a bag of your favorite frozen fruit that's going to stay good in the freezer. And you just get a bowl of it, munch down on it. One of my favorite things to do. I love my berries inside my Greek yogurt at night. That's my treat.
All right. Okay. I'm sorry I did that to you. That was a high-stress situation. I was throwing that at you way too fast. I apologize. I'm the bad guy, but I'll be able to chop that up and make something out of it. So let's carry on with our podcast.
Hopefully I get a little smoother at this podcast.
That rapid fire stuff is hard to stay on top of.
Ooh, I feel which my one cheeks are we on? Red.
Yeah, I know. So I promise not to do that to you again. But I just felt like it was a good time to do it because our podcast crashed.
Okay.
So
where were we before?
I have no idea. I feel like we were talking about creating barriers.
Yeah, okay. And I was saying how before you, like, you always felt like crap whenever you started taking stuff out, like the Little Debbies, and you started cleaning it up a little bit. You started recognizing things about your body, like, oh, I think this is what caused my heartburn. This is what caused my IBS. Like, you were more in tune with your body. And so many times people aren't. This is just the way I am. I've always been this way. Well, you have more control than you know, and how you feel has a lot to do with what you're putting in. And that's something you have learned. And on so many of my clients, it's like when they start recognizing how certain foods make them feel, I don't have to tell them to quit eating them. They are like, oh, that's what's been giving me heartburn, and they don't want to eat them. So they're learning their body. Some in their late 30s for a lot of us. Mm-hmm. And so many people don't. They just cover it up with the antacids and the antidiarrheal medications. Like, they're just covering it up instead of getting to the root of it.
Yeah, and if you're struggling with addiction issues, there's similar things that happen. It's impossible for you to figure out what foods are making you feel certain ways when you have a drug interaction happening on top of it. So
Right.
like there's a lot of times where I thought like I can't take supplements. Well, no, that's not true. The problem is that when I was taking painkillers, I wouldn't eat because if you took them on an empty stomach, then you would get the feeling like stronger.
Mhm.
So I would be fasted and then take a supplement, and of course that's going to make you feel sick on an empty stomach. You're taking a multivitamin.
Right.
So I always thought there's interactions that happen, and the further into your health journey you get, the more you'll be able to identify, oh, it's actually this specific thing that gave me the heartburn, like the Powerades
Yeah,
with
the
all that
Powerade
sucralose.
zeros, and so that's like something else I wanted to point out is just, getting to know your body,
Mm.
listening to it. We're all different. That's why I love my job so much. Is it's so different with every single client,
Mm-hmm.
night and day.
Yeah.
Like a lot of us deal with the same like eating issues,
Mm-hmm.
and cravings and getting our sleep right, but everybody's got their things, and that's why it's one-on-one coaching, is figuring out what works for you, because
Mm-hmm.
not everybody likes this kind of food. Not everybody likes to do, everybody's lives is completely different. Some people have 5 kids and can't afford certain foods, and some people can't get the 8 hours of sleep as easily as others. So but finding a way to do better,
Mm-hmm.
instead of, there's no way I could get 8 hours of sleep. I have a special needs kid. Like there are people out there who it's really challenging, but what can you do for yourself? What I mean, is there any area that you can change? Because this podcast is, don't like it, change it.
Mm-hmm.
What can you change? I feel like there's
Ah,
always something in your control. Maybe you haven't thought of it yet.
yeah, that's interesting. I have a question for you. I'm sorry, I have to sidetrack us because it reminded me while we were on the father-son camping trip. Um, one of the dads that was there was asking if you have a newborn baby, right? And they're sleeping only 20-minute spurts before they're awake, screaming, eating, and like going through this cycle at all times.
Mhm.
Obviously, mom's not going to be able to get an
Right.
8-hour night's sleep. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So, and I tried to put myself into your mind and give the best answer possible that I could, but I felt like I fell flat. So, what would you say to that mom who is in that position? Like, what can she control? What can she do?
And that's exactly what I say. Okay, you might not be able to get the 7, 8 hours of sleep, any quality of sleep at all. Well, we know what your body does whenever it's not getting that. You're gonna crave. You're gonna have, intense cravings. So making sure that you're prepared is number one. People who are prepared are gonna, set yourself up. So when you're grocery shopping, don't buy those trigger foods, because you're not getting good sleep and you're going to reach for them.
Mm-hmm.
Stock up on healthy options, things that you enjoy but are
Mm-hmm.
still going to help you hit that protein target. Keeping vegetables cut up in your fridge ready to go. So when the baby is awake, when you're
Mm-hmm.
awake, when you do have time,
2:30 in the morning.
prepare it. Take that little extra time. I know like time is the big deal, but take that time for yourself and say, okay, I'm going to take the time to cut up this melon and this cucumber. I'm going to have it ready in the fridge, easy access. Like, what areas can you control? Can you take a walk with your baby walk in the stroller, getting some extra steps in? So finding little areas for yourself that is giving yourself that love that you need. I'd say the biggest thing is being prepared.
Mm.
Being prepared for those cravings.
Yeah, I
What are you
know.
going to do when those hit?
I know that what I told him was that I know for a fact her cortisol is going to be through the roof. So, like, looking at other ways you can control other like cortisol influences,
Yeah,
like high stress things.
right.
Um,
Taking those walks, that's definitely going to help with the
mhm.
cortisol. Like,
And what about isn't there like a supplement that kind of helps relax you a little bit?
well,
That a lot of people are kind of deficient in. I was trying.
yes.
What was it, like zinc or magnesium or
Well,
something? What was it?
zinc's a good one for, helping calm, but magnesium most people are deficient in, and
Uh,
that can really help. And that even helps if you're constipated. It helps
Uh,
if you have like little twitches.
yeah.
Most people, I think it's like, don't quote me on, like 60% are deficient in
Yeah.
magnesium. So
90% of statistics are made up on the spot, including this one.
Yeah.
Wait. So, real quick, I noticed when I was digging through at the In and Out, like looking for cheap supplements, I see tons of magnesiums, and they got all these weird different words after them. So, can you, off the top of your head, tell me anything about
whenever
those?
you, for one, always make sure before supplementing that you talk to your doctor. But I can say, always look for a third party tested supplement. That's something I'm always looking for, even at those cheaper places, like making sure it's third party tested and it's really what's inside the bottle. And then I always recommend magnesium glycinate, magnesium threonate. That one's really good for the sleep. Glycinate's kind of an overall good. The citrate's going to help with if you're dealing with constipation. The only one that I heard maybe is kind of like a junk one is going to be like magnesium oxide. That's going to be like really cheap. I just heard, like, I need to do more research on my own too. But if I were to recommend, it would be the glycinate probably.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like if you really want to nerd out on like all the science and stuff, you can go to a different podcast for sure, because this one is not that.
No, but I could nerd out for an episode, because there was a point where I was really into studying up on magnesium. That's how I know what I do know, but I would like to make a video about it and maybe signs of deficiency. And then break down the different types.
You can make a short out of that.
I can make you guys a short
Ray,
out of that.
you want to do something fun right now? We can make a short. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. So
I have to be prepared for these things.
Wait, what? I got off track. What got us on magnesium? Oh yeah, the sleeping mom. Obviously, she's gonna have tons of snacks all over the house and stuff. It's gonna be hard,
especially if she's nursing too, because
she's got like 4 other kids running around eating Scooby snacks.
So
back to what we said before.
I had it pretty easy. I had 1 kid, 2 if you count him. But I do have clients that every single person's different, and we all have our own challenges, whether you're working or you're a single parent. But there is something that you can control. There's something for everybody. It might not be like you think it's the biggest, craziest thing that you can control, but you can. There's one area that you can do better in. You just have to stop and think, what is it? Can I maybe skip? I know this is hard. As a mom, you feel like your only time to yourself is that hour in bed when everyone else goes to bed. I still use this as an excuse myself sometimes. Instead of going to sleep, when you put the kids to sleep, finally, you're like,
finally, I can watch my shows.
I can binge out on blank.
Yeah.
Like Lost or, whatever show you're in. What's your priority? Are you really trying to lose the weight? Are you trying to help be better? And, what is your goals? Is that, and a lot of times that's not in line. Like, get the sleep instead. Think of your future self. Okay. It's going back to pick your hard. Is it hard to shut down and go to sleep because like you're limited on sleep anyway? Or if you do have kids, one of them can wake up throwing up, and then like you already stayed up late and now you're definitely not getting any sleep. Like,
you could have had that hour.
You could have had that hour. So pick your hard. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
But when you want something, when you want that toned body come summer, when you want to feel good instead of, when you want to do a plank but your back hurts and you can't, or you want to go rock climbing with your husband but you're so out of shape and it takes everything out of you to keep up with him. Like those little things, like going to bed, getting the sleep where you can get it. Those are the hard choices you have to make for yourself. It's not like getting healthy and getting fit it's a journey, and it's not always going to be easy.
And you know what I'd say? You are on one of the most like profound moments of your journey, and you're doing God's work, man. You're doing the most important job on earth. And I would say to you, fat is super easy to cut. Like, don't worry about it. Like, if you find yourself eating them snacks because you ain't been sleeping with the baby, I would say to you, I'm proud of you. Keep going. You're doing great. Don't be hard on yourself. Like, what you're doing is important, and keep going. Do the best you can.
Yeah,
That's what I'd say.
And that's really it all is. Don't shoot for that perfection every day, or else you're going to be let down every single day.
Mm.
But give yourself some sort of, do one thing a day. If you can check that box, then you're still going. So many people quit because they can't be perfect. It's too hard. And so you need to change right there. We need to work on mindset. And I really hope that we can help you with that mindset, because that's one of the biggest pieces right there. Is so many people stop before they see the results.
Yeah.
Because it's not happening fast enough, or because it's too challenging, or because they binged one too many times and they feel like, I can't kick this.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of philosophies out there that are like very much like live in the moment, and um thinking about the past and all of the pain and trauma from your past. Don't do that. That's painful, and that's going to steal from the present moment. And don't think about the future, because that's going to stress you out, give you tons of anxiety, and that's going to ruin the present moment. But I found when I was in the deepest pits of my depressions and addiction and suicidal thoughts, all these things, my present moment is already ruined. Okay? I'm not going to make it better by like just focusing on the now, because right now I feel like crap.
Yeah.
So the thing that turned it around for me was, one, having a vision for the future, which we're kind of going into along the way in this podcast. Building that vision for the future. And then two, not looking back on the past in the way that we typically do. So something that I've noticed as I go through my journey of like my growth, is that every 2 years, like, I'm a new person. And like things that I did 2 years ago, I'm embarrassed about. And the things I'm doing now, I'm going to be embarrassed about
I probably
in 2 years.
too.
The third episode of this podcast is probably the crappiest podcast on earth. But guess what? You got to start walking. Like, you got to start trying to stand up before you can walk and then run.
I like that.
So
that's us. These are our steps,
yeah,
baby steps.
I know where I'm going, so it helps drive me forward instead of me being down on myself about what stupid thing I'm probably going to say in this podcast.
Yeah. Or
But
what
then,
someone's going to judge us for saying. Like,
yeah,
we're putting ourselves out there. We're being vulnerable. Like,
if you're judging us, this podcast is not for you.
No, probably not.
You can go watch Andrew Huberman. He's a scientist. He knows everything about everything.
Yeah, he's a great one. And we'll drop you different people you can follow that we've actually enjoyed on our journey.
Yeah, if you're further along in your journey, I'm going to put some links to way better podcasts below. And everybody will be like, bro, don't tell people to leave your podcast. Trust me, it's for the best. We have a specific target, like ideal client, ideal person that we're trying to help, and it's not those people.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to what I was talking about. One of the things that helps me knowing who I was and how I'm embarrassed by it, but I know that me 2 years ago was just doing the best that he could at the time. And I know that the person that I am now is just doing the best that I can now at the time, which happens to be far better than the best I could give 2 years ago.
Say that to my ladies right now. The ladies who are tuned into this podcast, that are just starting, that they don't know what they're doing. They don't know where they're going. This is
I still don't know what I'm doing, but I do know where I'm going. That is for sure. But I think what I was getting to, the point of the 2 years, 2 years, 2 years, is it all goes back to this weird thing that I found in this. I was dealing with like some trauma from my childhood and stuff, and this idea of the inner child, and it's wild. So if you,
I remember that part of your story. I
yeah,
remember you doing some of that healing.
yeah. So there's there's some stuff in our past that hurt us deeply, right? And so what I did was I had a picture of me when I was a child, like 6, 7 years old. And I would just stare at it and think about that person.
It was on his phone.
Yeah. But the reason why is because there are behaviors that I had slash still have. There's an inner child. There's a part of me that comes out at times where I've developed like a very unhealthy response to something traumatic that happened in the past. So let's say it was the addiction, right? So I would just take pills, hide in the basement, nothing bad ever happens while I'm playing World of Warcraft for 12 hours a day.
Those were some dark days.
Yeah, that's when Ray left me. But just thinking about that child and why he built those defense mechanisms around those traumas, and then just recognizing that those mechanisms, they're not healthy, but it was the best that that kid knew to do. And that kid is still jumping out at you constantly when you encounter something that's even remotely similar to those situations. And it causes these unwanted behaviors, like these childlike behaviors, immature behaviors. And then just thinking about that kid, I did it for, I don't know, a month, maybe 2 months. I just had that picture on there and I thought about it all the time. And it brought me so much maturity, I'd say. I want to say healing. It's sort of not really, but just recognizing that I'm not that person. I'm not that child anymore.
Right. Like you're
That child's
validated.
gone. That child is gone, but I'm left with the memory of that child. And then I know why he did and does the things that he does. And I think that just having this perspective goes a really long way in you loving who you are now. Because as a parent, once you become a parent, you realize that we're all just children.
Right.
With like years of experience.
It's crazy.
Right? So I know that who I am now is a very immature child version of who I can be in the future. So I give myself that grace of like, okay,
yeah,
buddy, you're doing the best you can. Good job. So that I think is going to be a huge thing to help you out moving forward. So last week we had the talk about the future version of you.
Mhm.
This week it's this. Think about the child version of you.
You got some like specific homework you can give them. I gave them my top 3 things that they
if you got a picture of you as a child, bust that thing out, put it on the home screen of your phone. Each time you swipe that thing open, you're going to see that kid. And just think about that kid and the things that he experienced that is still trailing you to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give one very specific example of something that I discovered. We have these parts of ourselves that we didn't create. The specific example is this. My kid peed on the toilet seat. I got pissed. And I'm just like, what the hell, man? Wipe off the toilet seat. Mama's going to come in here. She's going to sit down and she's going to have pee on her butt.
That sucks.
Right? Okay.
Especially if you put on self-tanner.
Hear me out. Because of that picture of the child on my phone, I thought about, why am I so upset by this pee on the toilet seat? Because I really don't care that much. And I don't think if you sat and pee, it'd be the end of the world. So why am I so upset by that? And then it flashed me back to my childhood. And it's like, when your dad like grabs you by the neck and like forces your face down on the toilet and is like screaming at you, blah, 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 like, what is this shit? Wipe this up. There's a trauma there.
Wow.
And so I was trained in my childhood that pee on the toilet seat equals end of the world. And there can never be pee on the toilet seat. Otherwise, bad things. So when my kid peed on the toilet seat, that trauma came out of me.
Wow, yeah.
And I yelled at him, and then I took it back as soon as I realized it. In no time flat. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that made it through. Like, I'm here to try to stop those traumas from coming through.
From him doing that.
Yeah. So I was able to recognize it and apologize and say, hey, man, listen, this is the only, really, I don't care about the pee on the toilet seat. I just don't want mama to sit in it. So try to remember, okay? So
that's why I love this man.
So that's the homework, man. Just think about that child. Think about the experiences from your childhood that you carry through now, and some of the things, your beliefs that maybe you don't even care about.
Yeah. And are you doing that to your loved ones?
Yeah. What traumas from your childhood is getting through?
Good homework for me too, because I've never taken the time to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, I was very blessed with an amazing mom. I think I got a lot of good mom from her, but it makes me want to look and, think about other areas of my life, sisters, dads, aunts, uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is there anything in there that isn't me, that was just kind of made by my circumstances and by my influences?
Yeah.
So that's really good advice. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there's that work again, that it's up to you to put the work in.
Yeah.
Like, we can't do that work for you. So take these tips.
I actually do have one more homework assignment. Okay. Like the real homework assignment. Okay.
I want to hear it.
I couldn't remember if I gave this one last week or not. I should write it down, that way I can keep track.
Yeah, we'll get back.
Last week I said to think about what that person looks like, right? The future you. Mm-hmm. So here's this week's assignment. This is a good one that goes perfectly along with the picture of the child on your phone. Write a letter.
That's a good one.
You know where this is going, because
I've had some clients do this.
I've had this in my, it's not in my wallet right now, but I had it in my wallet, and actually I lost my wallet and ended up like getting my wallet returned, having this letter in there. So you're going to write a letter. So last time we said to think about what that person looks like, how they're different from you. Write all those things down. Okay. So you're going to write a letter to that person, to that future you who doesn't exist yet. And you're going to tell him everything that makes him great. All the ways that you're proud of him for sacrificing and putting in all the work, and why his mission is so important, and why you're so thankful that that person exists. Write this. It's basically like a love letter to yourself, to your future self. And then did I say put everything that makes them great in there? Take this, read it every single day. If you can, read it in the morning when you wake up, and then read it before you go to bed each night.
Yeah, put a copy by your coffee pot, a coffee on your nightstand.
Yeah. Start getting used to the idea that you can be more, and you will be more.
You will be. If you put in the work, you can be who you want to be. You can be someone that you're proud to be.
Yeah.
That you're a healthy version of yourself that you can leave behind, for your kids. Mm-hmm. And show them how to be that. I'm
still just an idiot who knows nothing, but let me say this.
Don't make me
2 years ago, 2 years ago, when I started doing all this mind work, that was the most useless person, like 2 years ago. Like, I'm so proud of that past me for starting the work. I'm so proud of current me for doing the work, and I'm so proud that I'm continuing to do the work. Like, for once, I feel a sense of fulfillment and like just peace and joy and happiness knowing I'm on a track and I can see myself moving.
I will say you've become my coach over the last couple years, and I've been with this man over 20 years, and I've never loved him more than I do today. Like, whenever you have someone in your life giving that to you and working hard on themselves and trying to be their best versions, like, I can't even explain the love I have for him.
Let's not forget, though, that Ray put in like 18 years of work up front, of the dirtiest of work, that had you, most people would have argued that you were a fool to stay with me.
I heard that a few times.
Yeah. But you never gave up. And that, I think that's what separates like marriages that last from everything else, is that you just, two people just refuse to give up. We know that no one's going to know us deeper or better.
Who would want to put in that amount of work?
Who wants to start over and do all that again? Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
No judgment if you have, but like, everyone's different. But I just wanted to say, like, I wanted to tell the world my love for you.
Thanks, Ray. On that note, guys, we'll see you next week. Yeah. We love you. We thank you for coming. And I hope that you find some value in this podcast. And I hope that they continue to get better and bring more value to your life.
If it is something that you're liking, maybe hit that subscribe button so we can build our confidence up.
There it is. Subscribe. Oh, and one last thing. Please comment below what you want to hear more of. Any questions you have. We want to talk to you. We want to like build a community and like build friendships.
If you're not in the Facebook group, like,
join it. Don't like it?
Change it.
Should we just end on that?
Well, let's say it one more time. Let's say it cool.
Oh my God. If you don't like it,
change it.